welcome to our Q&A for Red, White, and Blue. I'm very pleased to be joined by the film's director, Steve McQueen. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Dennis. How are you? Good.
So this is the third film in the Small Axe series that's in the main slate this year. And I suppose this is the one that's maybe freshest in your mind since you literally just finished it a few days ago. I wanted to just start by asking you to maybe tell us a little bit about how you came upon the story of Leroy Logan and how you think Red, White, and Blue fits into the larger picture of Small Axe for you. What role do you think this film is playing in the big picture?
Well, I kind of like I knew Leroy Logan before I really knew him. He was a respected sort of figure in the community. He was the founding member of the Black Police Association in UK. So I knew of him, but I didn't sort of get to know him until sort of obviously recently, until we sort of digged into his story. And what was surprising about that was the amount of sort of things which were against him in a way, and how he became the figure that he became. And of course, after he left the police force under sort of unfortunate circumstances. So it was a very interesting sort of conversation with him, because in the 80s, a black man in the UK joining the police, it was questionable. Why would you join the beast, as we would say here, the police? And the fact that he was a sort of, a research scientist at that, leaving that job to go into something which we regarded as, not very favorable within the community was kind of questionable. So that intrigued me. That was the first thing that intrigued me when we sort of started digging into it. And in some ways, it's about a person who wants to sort of, join the establishment in order to change it. So that sort of struck me as something within the sort of canon of Small Axe, of another tactic, another sort of way of sort of changing things on sort of making things, sort of making a different situation, making a difficult situation and turning it into something good, as it were. How do you change something? Often you sort of delve into it in order to sort of change it. That's all.
Yeah. Is it still uncommon? I mean, you said when he joined the force in the 80s, you had almost no black police officers. Today, I mean, I'm not sure the situation.
No, it's not. No, it's not so uncommon, but it's not so uncommon at all. But the numbers are not large, but it's not uncommon as such. No.
Mm-hmm. When we talked about this film a few weeks ago, you said that you were drawn to it because you were trying to understand why he would join the force, and that maybe making the film was a way for you to figure that out. I'm wondering if you did.
No. I think that the biggest conflict for him was his father, and in a way, the father is the radical in a strange, odd way. It's a kind of strange role reversal in a way. The father was meant to be the person who's towing the line and is much more close to establishment. And in some ways, he was until things, till he found out what, until he was attacked, until he was beaten by the police. So it's kind of interesting to see that tension within father and son, and how both of them deal with an incident. And in some ways, I think with myself and Courtier, the co-writer, there was a lot of comparisons to our own fathers, and dialogue and how we dealt with our own kind of interest, our conversation with our father, and also with John Boyega. And in some ways, it reminds me of like a movie like Five Easy Pieces in a kind of interesting way, in a way that there is that sort of conflict, and there's a hidden conflict until it sort of emerges, and right. It's difficult. It's never totally resolved.
Yeah. So Leroy Logan wrote. I think he wrote a memoir, and he's still alive. I mean, what?
The book just came out. I haven't actually read it yet, but it just came out. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of, telling the story, what was the research process? Did you speak to him? Or was it just
conversation? And I still, I think it's still difficult. It's still, I think, with as far as Leroy is concerned, I don't really, I understand. There is a certain kind of, his best friend was Lee John. Lee John was from the group Imagination.
Yep.
And that was his best friend. And, there's a certain kind of, the fact that both of them were sort of in the limelight, as it were, I think has a lot to do with how he wanted to come out of where he was as a research scientist into the community, into a more visible venture, into a more visible sort of interaction with and how he could change things like that. I'm still struggling, to be honest with you, but not in the fact that he did it, but he had so much going against him, being in the police force, the racism in the police force, as well as his father, who was attacked and beaten. He told me when he went into the hospital, he walked past his father because he didn't recognize him, because he was so badly beaten.
Right.
So there's a lot going on there, and I imagine I still, again, you could ask him the same question all the time, and possibly you get a different answer. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it's but I'm grateful for him. That's for sure. Absolutely.
Okay. The film focuses on this formative period, this decision, this dilemma, and then of course his initial experiences in the force. But can you tell us more about what happened after for Leroy?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty unfortunate. He was brought up on charges of, as far as I remember, not paying a hotel bill of £80. And the police brought him up on those charges. And they went after him. The police went after him because I think it was some conference he was at that they said that he didn't pay a hotel bill of £80. They went after him, and the investigation cost £100,000, and he was proven not guilty in that time. And consequently, he left the police, and that was it. And he said, obviously, the police are institutionally racist. That was it. Before that time, he set up the Black Police Association in that time, and it was also along the same time as the Stephen Lawrence case. I think just before the Stephen Lawrence case, which is a very famous case of a Black teenager who was killed and murdered by racists. So I think he was targeted in a way, Leroy. It's just pathetic, but that's what happened. That's what happened. That's what happened.
So to come back to these conversations that you said you had with Leroy, I'm just curious if you can say more about how those shaped the film, and also if John Boyega, who's amazing in Red, White, and Blue, did he meet with
oh yes,
Leroy as well, and how that shaped his characterization?
I think John talked a lot to him. John talked a lot to Leroy, and it's just a case of trying to understand who he was. He's up against so much. It's so much. It's like sort of a current, in a rapid, in a river, and then you're just swading your way, against it. And the effort, mental, physical, emotional, is gigantic. And why? I think there was a sense of justice for him. I think there was a sense of trying to sort of, rectify what happened to his father. There's so much. There's so much, and it's a titanic effort that he made to sort of keep on going in that situation. And I think with John he tapped into that, and I feel again, this anger and this desire to sort of. I think I honestly think that Leroy thought that that morality, what's right, would be right. that right will win. You know, that I think that he really did think that that idea of morality and, you know, what's right will win against all odds. And I think sometimes that's the only thing that keeps us all going, honestly, especially in these times. So, you know, hats off to Leroy. And, you know, I think John really tapped into that. I think John, in some ways, also, and it spiraled out into sort of John's own life in a way, you know, of obviously what happened during his speech at the, in, you know, the march for George Floyd in, I think it's Hyde Park.
Mm-hmm.
That you know, we were in the middle of making the picture then. A lot of things were going on emotionally. And I think, you know, John is, for me, you know, he's just incredible actor right now. He's just an incredible actor because he's hungry. You know, in some ways, I feel, again, I quote 5Z pieces, but it's almost like he's like, there's a certain kind of anger and an edge to him and a danger to him because there's a real want. And, you know, just very much like I imagine how Nicholas was at that time, you know, there's untetheredness to him where you have to let it go. You have to sort of watch what happens and see what happens. Because you just have to give him the space to excel within that sort of argument and see what happens, see how he can deal with it. So much beautiful things happened, so much great work happened with John with this work with White and Blue, which was totally unexpected and very much filtered into his mindset right now. He's extremely powerful, and he's a real artist at the peak of his powers, really.
Yeah. I think the film also really gets at the complexity of this father-son relationship. You know, that's really sort of at the heart of the film. Do you see this as a film about masculinity?
Very much, yeah, very much, very much. I mean, you know, I think myself, Courtney, John, have had our issues with what our father wants and who we are. I think that was very interesting. That was very integral to sort of the story. You know, I never, yeah, it's very much integral to the narrative and to the story. I didn't know it at the time, but I very much know it now. Very much, very much.
Mm. You know, this question, I think you put it earlier, like this, whether it's possible to change the establishment by joining it, or is it better to be, you know, on the outside of it? I mean, is this something that you've wrestled with as an artist and filmmaker?
No, because I'm not interested in that establishment. I don't know. I'm not.
But do you think positioning yourself on the inside or outside of something, is that a meaningful distinction for you?
No, because I'm it. I think, you know, you're it. We are it. So there's no inside outside. The only thing is to be visible. That's the thing that we have to fight for and fight against in some ways, of not making us visible. That's the thing. We are it. We are it. Regardless of, you know, they think we're outside, inside. I don't give a shite. The thing about it is being visible, and that's the space we have to fight for, to be visible. You can be outside, but as long as you're visible, you know, you have to be visible, because, you know, we need evidence. If there's no evidence, therefore, you know, they could say it never happened, or they can't do it, or it's not there. Evidence is very, very important. So I don't fight for any kind of idea of inclusion, but I fight for visibility, for sure, absolutely.
So I assume that Leroy himself has not seen the film since you've just finished it, right?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't. No.
Was he around on the set, or is he?
Yes, he was. He was around on the set. It's very interesting. There's a scene where he was in the youth club. So, for example, there's a scene where all the scenes in youth clubs. There's a scene where, for example, Leroy, the character John Boyega playing Leroy, comes into the youth club, and he walks up to I forgot his name, the guy who plays the piano, and he sits with him and says, "Look, you know, you could be good at this. You could be a musician. You could actually, you know, this could take you far." And then, obviously, when he says, "No, I can't," and he sits with them and he starts talking, and all the kids leave the room, leaving Leroy on his own. It was funny because Leroy is watching that monitor, with Lee John, his best friend, and it really hurt him. It really hit him. You know, I heard that he was really kind of taken with that scene, because that's what always happened to him. When he walked into a room, everyone left. All the people he wanted to hurt. That really hurt. That really hit him.
Right.
When he walked into a room, all the kids that he wanted to help, they all left. So yeah, it was there for that.
So, you know, these questions that Leroy's grappling with in the film, do you think they're still the same questions today? I mean, in terms of the police force and this question of a relatively undiverse police force, you know, the situation in the US, at least, I mean, you know, after the Floyd murder, there was, you know, a lot of reports about how a police force is typically much less diverse than a community that it's in. So, you know, I'm just wondering if you or Leroy or anybody just had the sense that these were the same questions that.
Yeah, I think also it's attractability to sort of joining the police. I think, you know, again, you got this guy who was one of the highest ranking black policemen, who then is put up for charges by the police, trumped up charges. I mean, you know, what can you say to that? You know, it's hard, and he's not the only black policeman or person of color policeman who's had these things put up to them. In the UK, it's terrible. So it's hard. It's very, very, very hard. It's very, very hard. So, you know, it's just very, very hard. I don't have the answer to that. I think that, yes, look, what I would like to see is a real sort of change of mindset within those institutions, because it has to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, you know, you see more trouble down the road. It's just a hard one to answer. I mean, it's just a hard one to answer. But it is a mentality within the police force in a lot of it in the UK. Maybe it's changing a little bit, for sure. It's not as bad, I imagine, it was in the 80s. But, you know, it still persists. It still persists in one form or the other. Yeah.
Where is the conversation in the UK about police reform today? I mean, obviously, it's been here in the States, especially this year. You know, some people are arguing for abolition, for defunding, at least, and some people for reform. And I'm wondering what is the discourse now in the UK? Recruitment.
I mean, as far as I know, it's recruitment. More black and brown policemen. It's recruitment. I think that's been the conversation. Recruitment. And in order to change the environment, just the mentality is recruitment. That's where we're at. We're not at a stage of defunding the police force yet. I mean, I just love these stories you hear about these police forces, you know, handing in bazookas and so forth. When they've been told to sort of, you know, you have to defund and you know, things sort of get registered and think, my God, they've got that? Really? They want to use that on us? Crazy. But as yet, we don't have that. But it's more, in the UK, I think it's just more about recruitment, getting more black and brown policemen, policewomen in the force.
Can you talk about the last scene of the film? Deciding to end on this moment of... Well, it's a reconciliation of sorts, of acceptance of sorts. Although obviously that changes, I think, when you know what came later. And
I don't know. I think there's reconciliation at all. I don't think it's reconciliation at all. It's not reconciliation. I mean, John says, you know, I think we should, to torch the earth and replant. Right. It's saying good. I mean, that's it. I mean, what's interesting about that scene is that Stephen Toussaint, who plays the father, we just talking, because again, you know, he had a hard time wanting to be an actor. And I know that, you know, John had an issue with his parents wanting to be an actor too. And John told me the story of his mother. And that was his mother saying to him that story about him being a gravedigger. Mm-hmm. I thought put that in the film. That's what we want in the film. because that's him talking to his son, saying, you want to be a policeman, you have education, fine, that's your choice. But all of that stuff that Steve said was from the heart. That's him. That was his mother talking to him about him being an actor. So all that was real. And I got that on the day. I thought, oh, good, yeah, just bring that in. So all that emotion, all that thing is all real. And then John, I just wrote, I just sort of wrote it, rewrote, because I hate the fucking word, sorry, I swore. I hate that word. I hate revolution. I hate that word. I want to fuck off. Rever fucking lution. Shoot me twice. I mean, I'm done. I mean, I don't know. I'm done. Rever fucking lution. No, shut the fuck up. So for me, yeah, it was about, we have to, I mean, there's words of going around, reset. But for me, the whole idea of agriculture, the whole idea of fertile, the whole idea of burning, the whole idea of demolishing and then replanting for me was very important. So I just wrote that little thing for John, and that was it, because I just felt that, something good. That's for me was what I wanted to hear. Wanted to at least sort of acknowledge we know where we're at and we know where we need to be, but we're not there yet. Right. And it's not about destruction. It's not about sort of let it burn, all that kind of crap. It's not about that. It's just about clearing the deck and hoping. You only can hope something good will come out of it. That's it. That's all, really. Yeah.
Instead of revolution, what word would you suggest?
I don't know. I'm gonna word, mate. I don't. Oh, I don't know, because that would I don't have a word. I don't have a word. I don't know what the word is. I don't know what the word is. I don't know if there's a word.
You said you used the word reset.
Yeah, it's been going. It's been it's a hit word now. Reset. I don't know. I don't know. Reset is like reset. I don't know. I'm not so precious on words. I just want actions. I don't know. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it smells like. I don't know what it sounds like. But when it's in front of me, you know, and whatever it is, when it comes, hopefully, if not, but you can only hope. I think it's the only thing we fucking got, which is sad. But there you go. This is where we're at. But on the good note, kids. On the good note, went the movies. On the big screen, fantastic. But again, it's just what cinema's for, isn't it? It's about fucking it's like maths, isn't it? It's like throwing it out there, trying to grapple at it, trying to sort of work it out, and hopefully bring an audience with you, and them sort of having that argument or that conversation once they leave the movie theater, because one doesn't have the answers, but you have the questions. We don't have to have the answers. That's what it's about. I mean, it's a great medium, obviously, to sort of have those kind of discussions. Yeah. And they need to try. That's what it's all about. And I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to do that. Thank you, BBC, and thank you, Amazon.
I think that's a good place, a good note to end on.
That's
great. But I just wanted to mention to people that if you're catching this Q&A after Red, White, and Blue, we'll be doing a live talk with Steve and his several Small Axe collaborators on October 4th. So tune in for that as well. Thanks so much, Steve, for being part of the festival this year. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care.